Hello, and welcome to the first video for the Fusion 360 training series. This will be the intro to Fusion 360 and the 3D modeling workflow. Okay, so welcome to Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is a parametric modeling workspace, and it is the primary software that the Maker Lab and the BCRC use to design. So before I start this tutorial, I highly recommend that you open up your own copy of Fusion so that you can follow along with whatever we do in this tutorial. So to first start off, let's just take a tour of Fusion 360. We'll start with over here at the application bar. This gray bar at the top, including the project file, is the application bar. Starting from the left, we have our data panel. This grid of 9 squares opens up to the teams that you're in. So up here, the teams that we're in, and the projects that you're able to access. On the direct right of the data panel, we have our file menu. This will give you access to create a new design, new electronics design. We don't have to worry about all of these so far. We can open files, we can upload files, we can save as, export, 3D print, etc. This is where all of your file functions are. Directly next to that is our save button, our undo button, and our redo button. These can be obviously replaced with the universal Control-C, Control-V, and Control-S commands that we know. And we also have our project display bar right next to it. This will give you the name of the project that you're working on. And if you have multiple things open, you will have other projects on here as well. You can add a project using this button, New Design. And we don't have to worry too much about these, but we have your profile over here, your Autodesk profile. Clicking on this will send you to a web browser. And then we have a help panel, a notifications for, and a job timeline for when your jobs are finishing up. So below the application bar, we have our toolbar. So this will give you access to all the tools that you actually need to start modeling. Over here on the left side, we have our workspaces. So this will give you access to all of the workspaces that you could possibly use. We will mostly be using the design workspace, as the design workspace is what we use to actually model. And then occasionally we'll be using generative design and manufacture if we're going to be CNCing. On the right of those are the tabs, which we see as solid, surface mesh, surface sheet metal, plastic, and utilities. These are groups of logically grouped tools that you could use to do certain applications. When you make a sketch, it will open up another tab right here that is labeled sketch, and those are the tools that you need to do the actual sketching. And then, so moving down, we have our browser over here. This will give you all of your project information. Under document settings, you can change the units from inches to millimeters or vice versa, or you can use any other units right here. They do not have miles, unfortunately. Under named views, we can click on these to go to named views. As such, we can also, and then under the origin, you can click the visibility of this to toggle, the visibility of the origin. So on the 3D plane, this is 0, 0, 0. Under the origin, we have our bodies and our sketches. This is where the stuff that you actually make will go. As you can see, I have one body here. I named it QB, and if you select that, it will highlight this as blue. This is not visible, but you can toggle it. This is the sketch that I use to make QB, and if you select that, that will also highlight blue. And under all of this, we have, actually, let's go to the view cube. The view cube is what you can use to pan around. So once you use or pivot, really, you can click and drag the view cube to look at different angles, and you can also just click the view cube to go to an angle, to look at an angle. And there's also a home button that will bring you home. On top of that, we have the navigation bar, which is down here. There are certain tools such as orbit, look at, pan, zoom, etc. Those will allow you to use to look at the object in different ways. And you can also change the display settings in this right here. We can change the way that the object is shaded, and we can also change the way that the environment looks. So I actually prefer the gray room because I just think that looks really cool. So if we also look at the timeline here, this is where the timeline is, and this will give you access to going into the past. Yeah, so if you have every step that you do in this process, it will be recorded in the timeline. All right, that is it for the actual workspace. That's all you really need to know for the workspace. And now let's go into navigating the workspace. Obviously, we can't edit this object from only one angle, so there are multiple ways that you could manipulate the angle so that you can look at other spaces. So to pan, we can hold down the scroll button and just pan like this, or the scroll button on the mouse to pan like this, or we can use 2 fingers on the trackpad. As you can see, well, you can't see it right now, but they have the same exact effect. To rotate around the object, we can click Shift and use the clicking down the scroll button, and that will click around a green point, or that will rotate around a green point that appears on your screen. So that point right there. And you can also zoom by zooming with the scroll wheel or pinching on the trackpad. And so let's actually start getting into the manufacturing, or not the design workflow of Fusion 360. So QB looks a little bit lonely right now. Let's make him some friends. So let's use that to also discuss the workflow of making a 3D object. Right? To make a 3D object, we have to start from a sketch, from a 2D sketch, and extrude it to a 3D object. So let's discuss a few ways that we could make a cube such as QB. So first of all, as we said, we want to create a 2D sketch. So if we read the description here, it says, we will enter sketch mode where we use geometric profiles to define the foundation of a design. Sounds good. We're going to select Create Sketch, and this will open up the origin and allow us to select different planes. As you can see, if we hover over different parts of Fusion 360, it will give us access to different planes. Let's select the bottom face, the bottom plane, just because that's what we're working with QB already. And let's discuss some ways that we could create another QB. So I want to create QB's friend right here. And so as you can see, the sketch module just opened up. We have a few tools that we could start with. Let's start with the most basic, the line. We can start here. Let's say I want one of QB's friends' lines to start here. We can click, and that will create our line. As you can see, I am not doing anything with my mouse other than moving it around, and you can see that there's 2 dimensions that pop up. First of all, there's a length dimension, and second of all, there's the angle dimension. To switch around from these, you can press Tab, and that will change what is highlighted. But also, you could just click and snap onto the grid. As you can see, when I hover my mouse over one of the points on the grid, it highlights it blue, and if I click that, that finishes the line. Now there are a few ways that I could complete this sketch. Firstly, I could just continue the line; it automatically continues, or I can press Escape to say that that line is all I need. To start back off from where I stopped, all I need to do is click the line button again, start from here, and continue drawing. Now, you do not have to just rely on the snapping to make everything work. What you could also do is you could type 1 here, press Tab, and then define the angle at which you want to set the line. So 0 degrees in my case. And that would create a line that is defined both in its length and in its angle. So that is a fully defined line. And then so we can also finish this just by clicking there and clicking there. So now we have a rectangle, now we have a square, and this base matches that base of QB. So let's experiment with ways that we could possibly make this into a 3D object that can resemble QB. what we're going to do is we're going to select this face, and we're going to press E. E stands for extrude, and what this will allow us to do is this creates an arrow that we can click and drag that will make this base into a 3D object. And so let's say I want to make it a perfect cube, so 1 inch. I can drag that up to 1 inch and press enter. And after a while, that will create our new QB friend. We can go over to our browser and name this QB's friend. Now, let's discuss some other ways that we could go about doing this. Let's create a new sketch on the same plane as QB and QB's friend. So let's select this plane, if it will allow us to, here. Let's make another one right here. Let's say that we wanted to do this with only 2 clicks here. We could use a 2-point rectangle, start with one vertex right here, and then drag all the way over to the last vertex over here. That automatically creates us a rectangle with 4 defined 90-degree angles and 4 toggleable side lengths there. Or 2, really, because it's a rectangle. What we could do is now we can extrude this, and instead of dragging this up to 1 inch, we can just type 1 inch here, and that will also create the same exact cube. So we'll name this QB's other friend. Let's say we wanted to make it even faster. We could go into here, create another sketch from this plane. That's actually the wrong plane. So what I could do is I could Control Z, and that will undo the sketch. Let's create another QB from the same plane, if it will allow me to select that plane. There we go. Let's create one up here. If we press the S button, it will actually go up to a sketch shortcut menu. Here we can search up center rectangle, and this will give us the option to define a rectangle by its center point and how big we want it to be. So as you can see here, instead of clicking from a vertex, going down to a vertex, we started from the center down to a vertex. This is useful when you have a defined center or a defined point where you want the rectangle to be a center of, because it allows you to define the center. And now we can pan back over to our view. We already have a rectangle that's finished. We can press E for extrude, and instead of dragging it up or typing 1, we could click on this top face of QB number 1, and it will automatically extrude it to the same exact height as whatever face we just clicked. Now let's say we wanted some body inclusivity here. Maybe we don't want all the cubes to have the same exact proportions. We can go back and actually edit sketch 5, or the sketch that we used to make the 4th QB. And we can actually make this bigger. We could say that we wanted this to be 1.2 inches instead of 1 inch. Obviously, now we're a little bit off center, but that can be fixed by just clicking and dragging. Now, if we press Finish Sketch, it will automatically do that same exact extrude function, just with the new sketch. And this is what we mean by Fusion 360 is a parametric workspace. You can define the parameters in your sketch, and anything that you do to that sketch will be translated over to however you you create it into 3D. So let's say this is QB's bigger friend, and let's press the Save button to save our progress. It automatically comes up with this button right here, or this pop-up right here. So I just press OK because there's no information that's useful here. That's why a lot of the times when I save, I just Command S and then Enter. So yeah, another thing that is useful about sketches is we don't always have to start with one of the origin planes. I think you already noticed this, but if we press create sketch, we can start on any single one of these faces, and it will define a the sketch plane on that face. So let's say we wanted to start on this side of QB. What it will do is it will create a ghost of the plane that we selected. So this plane, you can see that it has 4 lines. And now we can start a sketch on something that is not the origin. So this is useful when you have maybe a wall that is really, really far from the origin. You need to have something that is on it, and you don't want to like move things around, right? So we can just do something here. Let's make a go to here and let's go to center rectangle. Let's say we wanted a little mask for QB. Let's do that. Maybe we can use the tools such as the offset tool to create something that looks like that. And then we could possibly extrude it and then say something like 0.1 to make QB a little bit sussy. So that was your introduction to sketch tools and extruding. Our next lesson will be more advanced into the actual nuances of how to use sketch tools. For right now, try to experiment, or if you can, I know you guys don't have Fusion 360 licenses at the time of recording, but if you can, try to experiment with the different tools that you see around in the sketch workspace and try to create something creative. Thank you for listening.